Hello and welcome to the Tennessee Informer. I'm your host, Dave Vance. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We've got another great show lined up for you. Our special guest tonight is candidate for State Senate District 18, Chris Spencer. Chris will be on in just a minute, but first it's time for some updates and announcements. If you have an announcement from a conservative organization that you would like announced on this show, please send the information to tninformer.tv@gmail.com the Friday before the show. If you remember last week, our guest, Chris Morris, chair of the Giles County GOP and an SEC member, discussed some of the problems with the SEC and the issue of bona fide Republicans. Well, thanks to Chris pushing for a special session, that issue was resolved this past weekend by a contentious 32-29 vote, defeating the Rhinos, who wanted to delay the candidate requirement of voting 3 of the last 4 elections as a Republican until 2026. Our local SEC rep, Tess Robbins, was also very vocal in her efforts to get the rule enacted, and we appreciate her for that. The Henry and Stewart County, Tennessee chapter of the TFA will meet this Thursday at February 1st at Holly Springs Shooting Complex, 6133 Highway 79 North. Meeting starts at 7. Join us for supper at 5:45. Also on February 1st at 6 p.m., the Maury County Republican Party presents author and 6-time award-winning anti-communist blogger Trevor Loudon at the Lighthouse Church, 2000 Williamsport Pike, Columbia, Tennessee. If you want our state to step up and push back on our overreaching, often unconstitutional federal government, visit tncss.weebly.com and learn more about the legislation we hope to get passed this session that creates multiple processes for nullifying unconstitutional federal actions. The SEC of the state GOP recently passed a resolution in support of this legislation, as have the county commissions in both Jefferson, Sullivan, and as well as Roane County. More are in the works. Additionally, TNCSS has coordinated for Chris Ann Hall to appear live Saturday, February 24th from 10 to 12:30 at the Dynamic Ballroom and Performing Arts Center in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. This is a free but limited seating event, and you must RSVP. Go to the events tab on tncss.weebly.com for more details. Chris Ann will be focusing on the issue of nullification. Also, beware of SB 2058 by Senator Lowe. He claims it will defend our state sovereignty, but makes no reference to enumerated and limited federal powers, and has told more than one person that he doesn't support nullification. He's not to be trusted on this issue. Now for some background on our guest. Since 1991, Chris Spencer has been at the helm of a widely recognized business in the realm of college basketball. His years of dedication saw the organization of thousands of games globally, establishing him as a prominent figure in the industry. Now he aims to undertake a more profound role, serving his kin and community in Tennessee. Born in 1966, Chris's early life unfolded in Cincinnati, Ohio, with his schooling completed at Finneytown High School. His love for basketball was evident from a young age, culminating in his status as a top-tier player and record-breaking scorer. The Greater Cincinnati Basketball Hall of Fame honored him as one of the decade's top 10 players in the 1980s. Chris's college career blended his sports prowess with academic achievement, earning a business degree from Shawnee State University in 1990. The same year brought an even more joyous event, his marriage to Lisa. Their love story has blossomed over 33 years. The couple has been blessed with 2 beautiful daughters, Caitlin and Brianna, and in recent years, 3 delightful grandchildren. Chris's political journey began with his casting his first vote for President Reagan in 1984, and since then he has remained steadfast in upholding his Christian and constitutional values. Chris and Lisa relocated to Sumner County in 2004 and found their spiritual home at First Baptist Hendersonville. By 2019, Chris became a founding member of the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans, and he contributes to the community as a board member of Hendersonville Homebound Mills, a remarkable organization that delivers over 100 hot meals every day. The COVID-19 pandemic tested us all in a myriad of ways, and it was often government overreach that amplified the hardship rather than the virus itself. Chris believes that individual liberties should remain paramount even in times of crisis declared by the government. His mission is to stand up for the people, advocating for clear limitations on government overreach. Chris, thank you for coming on tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Dave. That was an awesome tribute there. That was brought back some tears almost for me. But that was really nice to see. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on. So let's get right to it. How's the campaign going so far?
Well, I think we're doing very well. So well that my opponent has already spent last quarter $170,000 on his campaign. We're still 7 months out, and he's already sent 12 mailers, I believe. He's using robocalls. He's using digital and even TV ads already. So I would think that because of all the things that they're doing and the money that they're spending, I would think that they're probably nervous, and they probably should be.
So your opponent is incumbent Farrell Hale. I'm not sure how many years he's been up there, but it's too long, ever how long that is. We were talking before the show, and you mentioned something about the robocalls. You want to hit on that a little bit?
Well, I've been hearing about them the last few days, that they're doing surveys, right? And then actually just about 45 minutes ago, a friend of mine called me on a three-way to listen. So I kind of got a chuckle. They sprinkle maybe 10% of truth, and then they make up the rest. And I knew that this would start, but I'm a little surprised it's starting 7 months out.
Yeah, he's an incumbent, and for him to spend the money that he's already spent and to already be doing robocalls are normally the last few weeks in the campaign.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. Now, he does have a lot of money. He's got a lot of special interest money. Last quarter, he had 57 PACs contribute to his campaign just the last quarter. But we knew that. We'll be outspent probably 10-1. But we have his record that we're educating Sumner County on. We will continue to do that. Of course, his people that are behind him, they think that that's negative, going negative, talking about his record. But his record is worthy of discussion because you know what? He's hidden it. Right. Nobody knows his record. So we're going to educate Sumner County and Trousdale County simply of his record. We won't lie about it. We're just going to give you his record. Then we're going to, tell you what we would do differently and how we differ legislating and how our belief of government. We're going to let Sumner County decide on what's the best step forward. And I look forward to that debate.
So 57 PACs, a lot of money, already doing robocalls, and you're talking a few minutes ago about some of the flyers are paid with tax dollars?
Yeah, I was stunned. I don't get the mailers because he's taking me off of it, but I see them all. Everybody either sends them to me or they send me pictures of them. And this one mailer says it's paid for by the taxpayers of the state of Tennessee. I was a little surprised about that, and I actually asked Gary Humble if this happened in his race, and he said it happened in his race as well. So, yeah, not only does he have all this money from special interest, but it appears the taxpayers are spending our money to make sure that he comes back for another 4 years. It's pretty frightening, actually.
I don't know how that can be legal. I know it's not right. Legal or not, it's not right.
Yeah, well, it's not right. But, I mean, even the new campaign laws that they put in, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, they made it felonies. Now, if the campaign solicits, PACs, right? So I can't have any involvement with PACs, which I haven't. I haven't received a dime from the PAC. But he's had 12 years of these relationships, right?
Right.
and this war chest of dollars that he's received over these years from PACs. And it just seems a little hypocritical, that they would pass these laws knowing that, it favors the incumbent, right? It's
right.
not a fair playing field. But you know what? We feel like we're going to win anyways.
Yeah.
So we're just going to put our foot forward, and we're just going to be positive and talk about what we want to do and talk about his voting record.
Yeah. Well, the Senate rhinos are definitely circling the wagons. But we'll come back to him in a little bit. So have you done any internal polling? Have you had a chance to do that?
Yeah, I have not done any polling. I know they have. The other side has done some polling. I'm assuming that's why they've done so many mailers, is because of their polling. I just don't, personally, we don't have that kind of money to be wasting it right now on polling.
Right.
And so we'll just hope that because they're spending so much money, their internal polling must not be going their way.
Yeah, yeah. So you get the benefit of that. It's pretty easy to figure out. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
We're going to get right into your platform items. And so the first one up is freedom. And I'll just let you kind of fill in the blanks on these. Say whatever you want to say about them as we get to them.
Well, we all just experienced the worst government intrusion in our life during COVID-19. And, my opponent was very influential in those decisions because he was the ad hoc chairman to study the governor's powers during emergency. So he was the chair of that. And instead of that committee telling the governor what he can do and what he can't do during, an emergency, they basically said, do what you want. And the governor did. And the governor kind of did it in a smart way for him. He basically didn't lock us all down. He gave the county commissioners the ability to use, as they wish. So, like, for instance, in our county, in Sumner County, they decided to put mask mandates on us, and they closed our churches down, and they did those things. And of course, Governor Lee didn't really have to take the blame for that. It was actually the county mayor that issued that. And so we all experienced this. And the weird thing is like, we live right by First Baptist Church. We love our church, and they shut it down. And there was a time where they didn't even want us going outside, if you remember that. So we would play volleyball with my family, my daughters and my sons-in-laws. We play a lot of beach volleyball at our church. And all of a sudden we went up there one day and the nets were down. They took the nets down, and we couldn't figure out why they did that. But so we bought our own, and we put them up every day that we played during COVID, and we took them down and went home. But we were not going to listen to the government in such a fashion that it just took all of our liberties away. Of course, we were forced, if you will, my wife would have to go to the grocery store, and she would put her mask on, but that we didn't like it, and we hope that we never have to go through that. And now we know, from the hearings 2 weeks ago with Rand Paul, Dr. Fauci has come out, and the science really wasn't the science after all, because he admitted that the mask didn't do anything, and double masking didn't do anything, and the 6 foot didn't do anything. There really wasn't any science around it. And so this is what freedom does not look like, right? I mean, they took our freedom away. We've got to make sure that doesn't happen again. We need stronger people in government in the state of Tennessee to push back when the governor wants to do something, because it's the legislators that do the law. He has to follow those laws.
Absolutely. So, Second Amendment. Let's hear. I think I know where you're on that, but let's hear it.
Well, I carry permit, and I'll tell you a quick story about my daughter Brenna. When they were in college, I made my girls get a carry permit, and because I didn't want them, on campus at a school without being able to protect themselves. So Brenna had a gun, and she actually posted a photo when she was at Tennessee Chattanooga when she was graduating, right? And she put a Women for Trump t-shirt on, and she had her gun, and she took it at the picture at the bridge, and then she put it on Twitter. And oh my gosh, my wife and I were playing in our volleyball league. It went viral, right? and so then the liberals went after my daughter, and they tried to have her arrested. and ABC went after her, and she just stood firm, was on Fox News, and she became the first really gun girl, if you will. She was the very first one. And so the thing is I'm such a pro Second Amendment person. I look at the Second Amendment as pro-life. Okay, so it's a pro-life issue for me because we know that on average there's 1.5 to 3 million Second Amendment encounters across this country, which means 1.5 million to 3 million people may have been saved because they used their Second Amendment right. And that is a pro-life. If you really look at it, it's a pro-life issue. So I believe that this special session that Governor Lee called, that my senator Farrell Hale actually submitted a red flag law. He doesn't call it a red flag law, but I would say it's a red flag law. He submitted one, and the whole idea was because of the Covington shooting at the school, and we don't even know what the reason for the school. So we want to change our Second Amendment, and we don't even know what happened at the schools. We don't get the data of what really happened and how we can make sure our schools are secured so this doesn't happen again. We just want to take away people's guns rights, So I'm there coming. I will protect our Second Amendment 100%. My opponent, on the other hand, in April, he came out and said that he was for red flag laws, doubled down in May, said that we must do something about the Second Amendment. Then I became in the race. Then he kind of changed and softened his position a little bit. And instead of taking the guns in his red flag bill, instead, he decided, well, the people won't like that, so we're just going to take the person. So that was really his bill, 7002. Instead of taking the guns, somebody makes a call, and they say that you're mentally unstable. They can come in, arrest you, put you in prison, wait for a judge to decide whether you get a bail or not, due process, and then they can investigate. They can investigate you if they think the threat was really bad. They can keep you in prison while they investigate. And guess who gets to do the investigation? Homeland Security. I mean, isn't this an awesome thing? I mean, it's just incredible how people that are legislators, they want to grow government. I don't want to grow government. I want to start cutting government. We've gone from $28 billion when Senator Hale was first elected. $28 billion was the budget, and today it's $56 billion. So it's doubled under his watch. Government has doubled. So we need to start going the other way.
I agree 100%. What about protecting women? You have that on there. I think I know what that's about.
Well, obviously we don't want men playing in women's sports, and we have passed laws to prohibit that finally in Tennessee. And Riley Gaines was a huge instrumental across this country. What a brave young lady that she is. But it's actually more to that. We have my opponent actually in 2021 sponsored and passed a bill, Senate Bill 126. And for some reason, after coming out of COVID, he thought it would be a good idea to have minors as young as 9 years old start taking puberty blockers. Now, sadly, that bill actually passed, and the governor signed that on May 25th, I believe, into law. It stayed a law for 16 months until Matt Walsh exposed it at Vanderbilt Hospital. And so that whole fiasco that happened at Vanderbilt Hospital was basically Hale's bill. And of course, the next day after all that happened, the governor said that an investigation needs to happen and all this other thing. Well, if they would have called me, I'd have said, I know where the investigation needs to go because y'all passed this bill in 2021. That's why this is going on. And so that having our children take puberty blockers is just unwarranted. Now, in defense, Senator Johnson finally got rid of that bill last July. And but my opponent should pay a heavy price. It's a disqualifier in my opinion. And if he polled Sumner County and Trousdale County at the time that he did this in 2021, I guarantee you 95% of those people, if they were asked, they would say this bill should never happen in Tennessee. So that's protecting women as well, because it's amazing now. Like my daughter Greta, she loved cars when she was a little girl, right? And we didn't think that was a problem. She was kind of a tomboy, and she played with cars and thought it was normal. But if she grew up in a liberal family, they might start thinking, well, maybe she wants to be a boy. Maybe we start seeing psychiatrists and doctors, and that's how that starts. That's how that starts. And so I like to add to protect women, also to protect them from these harmful hormones and drugs. So.
And it's the fact that not just a Republican sponsored that bill, but a Republican supermajority passed that bill, and a allegedly Republican governor signed that bill. That's a disgrace. I can't. It's disgraceful.
Well,
I just can't believe.
Yeah, they'd have to answer on why. I think there was a lot of confusion on the wording that Farrell Hale used. He used words like Tanner stage 1 and pre-pubertal. These words that you could see during debate that the senators did ask about them, and they were answered. There's 5 stages to puberty. Stage 1 is 8 or 9 years old and under. And then stage 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up until you're basically an adult. And that law basically was you cannot take puberty blockers at 8 and 9 at Tanner stage 1. But Tanner stage 2, 3, 4, and 5 take puberty blockers. And so I think there was some confusion. Potentially some people may have not understood it, right. But it did pass. And I'm not here to judge that per se, but I would say that it's probably one of the worst laws that we've ever passed in Tennessee, especially on children. That's why they got rid of it, because It was such a horrible law.
Yeah. Well, and he's a pharmacist, though, right? So he should know all this stuff.
He is. Well, he did know. He did know. Yes, he did, and he is a pharmacist. Yes, and he is being supported by Big Pharma. And, Matt Walsh goes into details on that. So if you just Google Matt Walsh and Vanderbilt Hospital, just go back, 18 months to when that happened, you'll see Matt actually talks about how much money Vanderbilt Hospital was making on these procedures that they were doing on these children. So, but
I wonder if Vanderbilt is going to be donating to his campaign. I'm sure he's getting money from Big Pharma already, but I wonder if he's getting anything from Vanderbilt.
I don't know. I looked at his report yesterday, but I don't know if I actually saw that or not. But he had 57 special interests, donating to his campaign. And it's kind of I take issue with it too, because if there's a prototypical Republican, it is me. I mean, I've been a Republican since I was 18 years old. I voted for Ronald Reagan, my first vote, and it was all because of abortion. I was a one-issue voter even as an 18-year-old. It just was so repulsive for me that we had abortion in this country, and we had a party that ran on, killing babies. And I stayed true to that all the way until I was in 2014 when Donald Trump went down the escalator. And I thought, you know what? I'm a second issue voter now. I want to do something about our border. That's really why I became a Trump supporter, was over illegal immigration. And so I've been a Republican my whole life, never voted for a Democrat. Well, except for George Bush and Mitt Romney. But I have never voted for a Democrat. I've been a successful businessman, and I've been married to one wife for 33 years, and I'm a Christian, and I support our community serve on the board at Home Down Meals, and I'm trying to understand why is there so much opposition against me, because I really am a prototypical Republican, but that's where we are.
So you're pro-life, and not in the way that a lot of Republicans claim to be, kind of like, we have these Second Amendment butters, I support the Second Amendment butt, and then we have some of the pro-life butters. I'm pro-life butt, so you're pure pro-life from conception through. Yes,
100%. Yes, and the rumor was that there was going to be an abortion bill filed this session that talked about exceptions that Senator Hale was going to co-sponsor, but it hasn't been filed yet, and I hear that maybe he's not filing it now, and I've been told that my race is already changing the political realm in Tennessee. Good. And that's great. So if we don't do that, that's fine. But yeah, I've always been pro-life. I mean, I just I don't know. It's just so repulsive to me to even think about it. But yeah.
So limited government, we hear that a lot from even our Republican supermajority, even though our budget just grows leaps and bounds every year. We constantly hear limited government. Let's hear your version of limited government.
Well, limited government for me means that we start taking the federal government and some of their agencies out of our state.
Amen.
Limited government means that I would prefer, instead of doing a voucher system, I would prefer to tell the federal government to get out of our education, and we'll run our education our own. Now, people get alarmed by that because they'll say we're going to lose all that money. And I'm not so sure about that, because we're taxed, based upon the Constitution, apportionment. That's our dollars no matter what. Now, if you don't want to give it to us education, I think there's a good argument that you would have to still give us that money somewhere else that we can use, because we get our money based upon apportionment. So it wouldn't be fair that we're paying that money and we get that money back. But we need to start cutting government. We've got illegal let me tell you what would help a lot to cut government is do something about illegal immigration. We have a law on the books from 1982, the federal case of Plyer versus Doe, which says that you must admit illegal aliens into your school system without discriminating based upon their immigration status. Now, in 1982, that wasn't a big issue because we didn't have millions of people coming across the border. In 2024, it's a big issue. It's been a big issue for many years now. And we're losing $1 billion a year on illegal immigration. And almost $600 million of that is coming from our educational fund. And the voucher system that Governor Lee wants to pass, guess what? If they pass it, illegal aliens are going to be eligible to get the vouchers as well because of Plyer versus Doe. So we have a good opportunity here now because we have a conservative Supreme Court, supposedly, but more conservative than we have, in a long time. They got rid of the abortion, got rid of Roe v. Wade, so they should be praised for that. But it's time to get on the offense, right? In Tennessee. It's time to get on offense. These cases need to be challenged in court, and they need to be overturned, and we need to be able to use our laws to start going south with people instead of everybody coming north. So I want to really limit the federal reach of government, because when I look at all these alphabet CIA, FBI, IRS, all of these, I don't find them in the Constitution.
Right.
I don't find them at all. And so I'm not sure if we can do anything about it, but we haven't done anything. So I would at least try to limit our government in that way.
Yeah. Well, I'm a supporter of nullification. I don't think we can fix our country in our state without it. We have to have a strict adherence to the 10th Amendment, and you won't get that just by relying on the courts. If you look at the situation in Texas, I was glad to see that they decided, okay, we're gonna let the court decide, because that's the argument that the left is making. Well, the court has said, and Texas, unfortunately, hey, 25 states, including ours, says we're standing with Texas. So the good thing about that is they are saying, okay, Supreme Court, you know what? You are not the final word on everything. We have a right to protect ourselves. We are still a sovereign entity. There was a Supreme Court justice a few years back, not one of the better ones, but he did make a good statement that states are sovereign entities. Sometimes they have to act like it. And I think
That's
we
right.
have to do that more and more.
Well, it's amazing because every bad law seems to be a liberal law that was pushed and passed, right? And somewhere. And like, for instance, obviously you're an expert on the Second Amendment, but the Bruin case is a good example of that. So that law in New York was from 1910 or something, like when they passed that gun law in New York.
Pretty early, yeah.
Over 100 years that they passed that law that basically you had to come up with a reason to be able to have a carry permit, basically, to defend yourself. And that law stayed a law for more than 100 years in New York until SCOTUS got rid of it in 2023. But think about that.
Right.
That 100 years that stayed a law, and it was an unconstitutional law. And so I think that we need to do that here in Tennessee. I think I would hope that our AG would look. We got to prepare for Donald Trump's second term, and he has promised that he's going to do a mass deportation of this country. And so why not get ahead of that and start helping us in that goal and pass some laws?
I agree. So we're going to definitely, hopefully he's going to get in there and they don't steal the election again. But, regardless of whether we get Trump or not, I think if we don't get him in there, I don't know. I see him as a tourniquet, but I don't see him as a long-term solution. The long-term solution is putting the federal government in check. And like I said, I think nullification is the only way. So in my understanding, you do support the idea of nullification?
I 100%.
Not for any and everything. A lot of people think that means you're going to nullify any and every little thing you just, no. But, we do have a Constitution, and it's not going to get followed unless the states stand up.
That's correct. I support that. I support that bill 100%. Janice has a great, she's sponsoring that bill once and again. I don't even think it got out of committee last year. Is that correct?
Well, it was doing well in the House. On the Senate side, not so much. And I think a lot of that, I've heard two different stories. My first suspicion was that was right after our perverted lieutenant governor had all that stuff going on in Saturday Night Live and did his own little internal poll on whether or not he should stay in his position. And I think that she probably didn't agree with him staying in his position. And I heard she was fairly vocal. So I think that had a lot to do with why her bill did not get a second. That's my guess based on some things I've heard. And then, hey, the governor, I've also heard that the governor put the squash on that, which that's a whole nother problem, because when you're talking about limited government within the state, the governor's not supposed to be a super legislator.
No, he's not.
If he wanted to be, if he wanted to represent Williamson County, then he should have ran to be a state rep, or he could have ran to be a state senator. But he's not supposed to be this super legislature. That's another thing that irritates me, is how they carry all these bills for him. It's ridiculous, the number of bills that they carry for the governor. That violates the intent and the structure of our state government.
Well, and what's his number one thing right now? It's school vouchers, or what do they call this now? ESAs.
Right.
My opponent and several of the senators already endorsed the voucher bill before even reading it. Right. So we still haven't read the bill. We because they haven't released it. They accidentally released it yesterday, but then pulled it back. But we did get to see a lot of things that was in that bill before they pulled it back. And but I don't know how you endorse a bill when it's not even written. You endorse an idea. How about you can I think I could support it, but I want to wait till I see and can read the legislation.
Yeah.
We have that going on too much
Yeah.
in our legislators.
Sounds like the Tennessee GOP, at least some of them have adopted the Pelosi model there. You have to pass it to see what's in it.
That's right.
So small business, let's hear you on that one.
Well, I'm a small businessman, so I want, look, that is our engine for our country, and I've been in a small business my whole life, and I don't know the exact figures, but it's about 70%, I think, of the jobs that are created are about small business. So I would prefer to be an engine to create small business than to be an engine to expand the corporate structure of these corporations and so forth. And we're spending an awful lot of money on bringing electric cars to where was that plant?
It's out in West Tennessee. I can't remember exactly the county, but the Blue Oval City that's out towards, I want to say Memphis or in that general area. And yeah, that's a big giveaway of our tax dollars for an electric battery vehicle. And now we see all the trouble, which, Ray Charles could have seen that was going to be a problem, but we spent all that money for this.
We are spending a lot of money for corporate, but I would prefer to use that money as incentives for people to start small businesses. I think at the end of the day, we would have had more if we'd have taken all that money that we spent for the Ford plan. By the way, I think they're no one's buying those cars, those trucks. No one's buying them. So I'm not sure what. Maybe they changed that plant into a salmon farm or something. I don't know in the future, but we should be able to. I would rather spend that money on small business and use that as an engine to create jobs for small businesses and to help Ford or help whoever. I mean, look, I don't remember the final package of the Titan Stadium, but it's an enormous amount of money, and that's great for the Tennessee Titans and everything. But my choice would be to spend. If we're going to invest, let's invest in creating small businesses.
Yeah. Well, that's not a good use of tax dollars to do that. And another thing, when we bring these companies in, Ford and others that we have lured in here with tax dollars and tax breaks, most of those companies are woke companies. They're left-oriented, so they're going to come in here and, they're not going to help us. They're going to just push the left, the woke garbage even more. They're certainly not going to help us elect conservatives. They're going to be supporting Democrats. They're going to be supporting the rhinos. Much rather just see us stick with, if we're going to do something, do it for small business within the state.
Well, I don't know if you realize too, but we're in a shortfall budget-wise, like close to $700 million currently, and I don't see that getting any better because I went to the grocery store for the first time in like 30 years, because my wife has always done that, but she got the flu a couple weeks ago, so I went to the grocery store, and I'm looking at these prices, $5 for milk and just everything, and I just couldn't believe how expensive everything is across this country. I just don't know how the normal family can even make it anymore. It's just so the economy is not going to get any better, and so I'm certain that the budget's going to be coming out, I think next week or something. But I would imagine there's going to be some real pushback on trying to do some cuts because of some of the shortfalls. We just don't. We've had a lot of growth, and we've been blessed by that, and they've had surpluses because of that. But now we've grown government so much. I think we're going to see some of the negative effects of that.
Yeah, and I don't remember anybody ever putting up any kind of real fight about our budget in the state. And
no.
That's way overdue. I mean, they need to really start looking. I'm sure just like we know there's a lot of federal agencies that we could do away with, I guarantee you there's state agencies we could do away with. I'm sure there's a lot of state agencies that we could reduce the budget.
Well, Elon Musk, what did he cut 70% of Twitter, and it runs better today. I mean, it's free and it runs better today, and he cut that much. So yeah, I mean, I think well, look, I don't think they're going to have much of a choice. I think you're going to start seeing some clear budget cuts on this next negotiation that they start having.
Good. So education, that's a big one. What are your plans for that?
Well, I prefer to get the federal government out of our education. So I know that was going to be something that one of the senators was going to push a bill, but I think that's probably not going to happen now because Governor Lee wants to push his voucher system through, and there's no way they can do both, because the voucher system is probably close to $200 million. And but that would be my preference, to get the federal government out of our education. What have they done since they've been involved with our education? Our test scores are down. We don't even teach that we're a constitutional republic in our schools. We teach that we're a democracy. We're so far from that. So we have really got to start teaching our kids just the basic stuff, the basic things of our founders, the documents. They don't understand any of that. They don't understand freedom. They don't understand how to run a business. And so I would like to bring God back in school. I really would. Now, I know I'll get a lot of pushback on that. And all I have to say is look at Article 9, Section 2. If you don't mind, I'm going to read it to you.
Sure, yeah.
I think this is very interesting, that probably nobody hardly knows this is in there. I mean, 1 second.
This is from the U.S. Constitution, right?
No, this is Tennessee Constitution.
Okay.
Article 9, Section 2. Oh, gosh. Well, it says, but I thought I had it handy. I'm sorry about that. But it says basically in short, it says that the legislators must believe in God. And so if our here it is, I'll read it to you. I'm sorry. Section 2 of Article 9. No person who denies the being of God or a future state of rewards and punishment shall hold any office in the civil department of this state.
Yep.
You think that's being enforced?
No. Matter of fact,
they
had our house today had or yesterday, I guess, the prayer was opened with a transgender giving the prayer. And that was approved by our house leadership. I mean, you talk about spitting in God's face. That's just insane.
Well, they're probably in fear of getting sued, And look, I'm not. I think it's wrong, but that's probably what they're in fear of. But I mean, think about that. It's still current law, Article 9, Section 2. It says you can't even serve if you don't believe God.
Yeah.
Well, so how are we supposed to educate the future legislators for the state of Tennessee? We don't teach them about God in our schools. Ever since we've taken God out of schools, prayer out of school, Pledge of Allegiance out of our schools have declined consistently.
Yeah.
And so I would really love to be able to somehow figure out a way that, not force it on them, but a teacher that wants to should be able to teach the Bible, should be able to teach our founding documents, should be able to teach our history, the Bill of Rights, that we're a constitutional republic, we're not a democracy. These are just simple foundations that we forgot about, and it's done so much damage. We've allowed the Democrats and the liberals to change our whole language around issues, and I think we need to start pushing back. It's time to end this LGBTQ movement, and we are a Christian nation, and let's act like it.
no matter what we're getting from the federal government for education, it's not worth the damage it's doing. So our state, and waiting, we always hear about, well, they need to shut down the Department of Education. We don't have to wait on that. Our state can just say, we're not taking it. We're going to do whatever we have to do to educate our kids without taking federal dollars, if that means we have to push the garbage that they want pushed.
But I think we can shut them out and take them and say that and sue them for that money anyways, because that's our money. We paid that money, and by apportionment from the states, we're supposed to get our share of that money. They just can't take that money from them, from the state. So I would like to at least see that fight happen.
Yeah. Well, it's not even education is not a constitutional function for the federal government.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah. So law enforcement, what are your ideas on that?
Well, again, I mean, look what we've done to law enforcement over the past, really since the riots that we had over in Minneapolis and everything. We don't have respect for law enforcement. So, there's an interesting thing. I heard Speaker Sexton speak once, and he said that they know where like 90% of all the crimes are committed in the like 10 blocks or something. Basically, a few blocks in Nashville, several blocks in Memphis, and so forth. And if we have this information, we know this information, shouldn't we maybe use that information to stop this crime, to help out our police officers? I don't remember the exact figures. It was a few years ago when I heard it. But it wouldn't be surprising if we know that data, because we have all these computers, so we can figure out where these crimes are. But look, I'm a big supporter of law enforcement. They are the backbone of our peace. They are the back. I mean, they are peacekeepers. That's what they are. We need to support them. We need to. I support even paying them more money because they have a tough job. But I am definitely 100% behind the Blue. I lost you. I can't hear you. Yep.
Wonder, is that a battery?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Got me now?
Yep.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So we were on jobs. Anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. Illegal immigration. We kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, but let's finish up with that. I do want to say one thing, and we'll hit this again in a minute, but your opponent, Farrell Hale, was one of the senators that also voted for a bill 2 years ago that was sponsored by Shane Reeves in the Senate and Bob Freeman, a Democrat, in the House. And this bill allowed illegal aliens, although they were focusing mainly just on the DACA illegal aliens, but it really allows all of them, if they have a work authorization, to get professional licenses in Tennessee. And he voted for that as well.
Yeah, he voted for that, and he also voted to give them in-state tuition. And the funny thing is we have him on video from the May breakfast here in Sumner County. One of the members of the Republican Party asked him a question about that vote, why he voted to give in-state tuition. And he literally blamed it on Donald Trump. He did. He literally said, I did that because Trump was going to make them all legal. So I said, what the heck? I'm just going to go ahead and vote to give them in-state tuition. It was just a cop-out. But the fact that he blamed Donald Trump for his vote is very telling.
Yeah.
He's actually sent a mailer out a couple months ago talking about we need to do something about illegal immigration. Just like he sent out a mailer saying that we need to stop child mutilation. He doesn't support the things that are like if you give illegal aliens commercial and business license and in-state tuition, you are not a serious senator to tackle this issue.
Right.
And that's really that simple. I don't see him tackling Dyer versus Doe. I don't see him tackling anything that we're serious about on illegal immigration because he's supported by the special interest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Special interest wants this cheap labor.
The Chamber of Commerce. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's their boy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So other ideas back against illegal immigration. I understand that, our federal government refuses to secure the border, but we don't have to be as inviting as we are. So I'd like to see us be a whole lot less inviting to illegal aliens.
Well, we're a border state as well now.
That's true.
We're all
That's
borders.
true. Yeah.
We're all border states now. So I would like us to be a little bit aggressive like the Texas AG has done and now the Texas governor has done. Greg Abbott has bused 100,000 people over the past year, illegal immigrants, to these blue cities that are sanctuary cities in Colorado, in Illinois, New York, and California. Look, I want to have Christian grace when we do this. We don't need to round people up, but we need to start. We need to start deporting. Folks. I think it starts by fighting to get them out of our schools first.
Yep.
And if once you get that federal law nullified, I think that could be the start of it. I'm pro legal immigration. And we also need to maybe lower the E-Verify from 35 that they have now to 0, right?
Yeah.
So there are definitely things that we can do to curb illegal immigration. We just got to have the will to end up doing it. We got to have our AG be a bad dude like the Texas guy, right? I mean, the Texas guy is literally suing Pfizer, I think, right now because Pfizer said that their vaccine was safe and effective, and those are the types of things that we need in 2024. We need fighters. We really need fighters that are going to fight for our 10th Amendment here in Tennessee.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your endorsements. You've got some very good endorsements that anybody running as a conservative Republican would like to have. If we can pop those up on the screen there. We've got John Rich. Everybody knows
Yep.
John Rich, singer-songwriter. You mind if I ask how you manage that one?
Well, he was very influential in a bill 2 years ago, Senate Bill 1944. And that bill was to get porn out of the schools and the libraries.
Okay.
And Farrell Hale did not support that bill. So that was part of it. And then Farrell Hale obviously came out in support of red flag laws, and John was big against red flag law down. And so I met with John. He vetted me ferociously, from what I was told. Even called college basketball coaches that have done. That's what I've been told.
Wow.
So he vetted me, and that was fine because I'm I think you should vet, people that want to represent you. So
Right.
I checked out, and he's been amazing. He's an amazing patriot. He's actually coming to my kickoff party here on March 28th at the Epic in Gallatin. So
Cool.
it's going to be awesome to welcome John Rich to Sumner County, and he's just he's genuine. He's a good dude. Now he's very personable, and he's got what a history he's got. He won Celebrity Apprentice. Now that was a show I used to watch a lot. My wife and I we watched every show of Celebrity Apprentice, but he actually was a winner of Celebrity Apprentice. So, and it's a cute story. You can find it on YouTube. He talks about that. But yeah, we are just thrilled to have John Rich back us.
You also have Lee Beeman.
Yes, he was my first endorsement, and I met with Lee in his office, and took a meeting with me. I had some help getting that meeting, but he saw my platform. He knew about the red flag laws. These are people, even though they're very successful businessmen, they're just like you and I. They believe in the Second Amendment. They believe the government is overreached. They want limited government. They want to deal with illegal immigration. They now just want to use their clout to make sure that we have people. They want to see change.
Right.
So that they're getting involved. So we're Lee was my first endorsement. We're proud to have him.
I don't know him personally, but I know that pretty much in the campaigns I've followed over the years, most of the conservatives, real conservatives, have been endorsed by Lee.
Yeah.
So it's usually a good sign.
Yeah.
And then we had the Riley Gaines. I think everybody knows who she is. How did that come about, if you don't mind?
Well, she actually spoke at our SEC meeting, so we didn't really go into my affiliation with my founding member with the SECR, and we've got an amazing group of people, Christian constitutional conservatives, that we started with 8 people, and now we're well over 400. We have speakers come every third Saturday.
Yep.
We've ran 44 races in 5 years and won 34 of those races. So we've got a proven track record in Sumner County now. And Riley spoke. Right, she was right at the beginning of her fame, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and she spoke at the SECR, and I got the chance to meet her and stayed in touch with her and asked her for endorsement, and she said she would endorse. So
Great.
that's really how we got that.
For those people out there that might not be familiar with the SCCR, the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans, these guys are great. I mean, I know several of them. I don't know all of them, but I mean, they are really fighting, and they're making a difference in the county. They're making a difference in the state. I know that some of them go to other places in the state and talk to other groups and tell them because they've really had an impact and really got the attention of everybody in Sumner County and in that general area. So it's a great group. They are one of the few that live up to their name in terms of being constitutional Republicans in everything that they're pursuing. So I got a lot of respect for the people in that organization and what they're accomplishing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a founding member of that group, and look, we beat the rhinos in Sumner County. We beat them time and time again. They're upset, so they're going after me. The SECR is just a good Christian folks, God-fearing folks. They're Republicans, but they got tired of the rhinos running, and so we decided to do something different. But the establishment are doing what they do now, calling us white supremacists, or even, I don't know if you realize it, but it's gotten so bad that Joe Scarborough and Mika did a 15, I think it was about 10 minutes on Morning Joe about 6 months ago. And so we've been attacked. I've been attacked here recently from some of the liberal outlets. They're saying that, that it's impossible to get a Democrat elected in Sumner County because of the constitutional Republicans, and that's like a bad thing, right? I mean, it should be celebrated. The work that these folks have done in Sumner County is just amazing. And here's the secret. There are probably 15 other counties that are trying to duplicate what we are doing in Sumner County because of Kurt Riley and some of the folks. And so it is spreading. That's a good thing.
Absolutely.
And I told some of the establishment that is against me, and they want us. They're trying to hurt me by saying I'm a member of the SECR. But I tell them, you're to blame for the SECR. You folks are to blame. You kept voting tax increases into our county commission in the city of Hendersonville. We had 4 straight tax raises, and that's unacceptable. And so we did what we were supposed to do in our representative government. We changed the butts in those seats, and we vetted and we put people in there that wouldn't do those things. And of course, they're not in power now.
Right. So
they're upset. And of course, they're all backing my opponent, and that's fine, but the SECR is a great group.
Absolutely. Need more like them. Let's talk a little more about your opponent. We got a slide up here, and we've already hit on some of this. We won't have to hit up, but he is and this is my words. He is a rhino's rhino. I mean, this guy just checks all the blocks, and you've already covered some of that. SB 612 was the one where he gave state public benefit for in-state tuition for legal aliens. And then you've got 2464, that's the one where you give professional license to illegal aliens. And you already talked earlier about 126, that was the puberty blocker bill. Now that's something that you found out about just recently, or that some more information came out?
I've known about it for about 8 months. But, it's amazing how nobody knew about that. It's like it went away after Matt Walsh was supposed to. But look, I'm sure they're not happy with me for bringing it back to life. But I mean, if I can't run against his record, then why am I running? Right? I mean, I just think that some of these are disqualifiers.
Yeah. These
are bills that you do in Memphis. You don't do these bills in Sumner County or Trousdale County, because the people would not support these if they knew about it.
Right.
Yes, you're bringing, boy, there's so many. Yeah, you're for some reason he doesn't like to have parents involved with vaccinating their children. He thinks that they should be able to do that at dentist's office or at school.
Yep. That was the HBC vaccine bill. It would have authorized and expanded options for healthcare providers to not just treat minors for STDs, but to provide treatment to a minor to prevent STDs without the knowledge or consent of the parents or legal guardians. So that's feral hell.
Yeah, horrible bills.
Absolutely. And I think we got one last one on hell. Just say hell no and vote Spencer in District 18. Once again, that's all me. Mr. Spencer had nothing to do with that, but definitely vote hell no and vote for Chris Spencer in 18. We need him in the Senate. Look, guys, our state Senate is pathetic. Okay, we got, I think, 27 Republicans in name-only senators. We got 5 that are solid, 2 that sometimes do the right thing. We need some help in the Senate, and I think Chris sounds like the guy that we need in the Senate. I know we don't need to send hell back there anymore. He's done enough damage to our state. And here's your contact information. Chris, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, not really. I mean, we covered it all. I thank you for giving me a platform here tonight. It's going to be a long road for me for 7 years. I asked people to pray for me and open doors for me, and I want to serve. I want to serve God while I'm serving in the Senate. And I think, people may not like that I put my Christianity on my chest, if you will, but I'm not going to hide who I am. If I don't get elected, and I'll just go back to being a grandpa. If it's not God's will, then it's not God's will. But I will work for you.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thank you for coming on. Thank you for running. Good luck to you. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you some more. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to watch our program. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons as well as the notification bell to stay informed about our upcoming shows. I will tell you next week we've got Bud Halsey coming on to talk about the nullification bill and other legislation that he's sponsoring. As a reminder, you can now listen to us as a podcast on Spreaker.com. You can find all the audio-only podcasts of your favorite episodes, or you can go to our website, tninformer.com, or do a search for the Tennessee Informer on Spreaker.com, where you can download the Spreaker app for Android or Apple phones. We're also on the Tennessee Informer podcast, are now available to listen to on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, and several other platforms. Take a moment to check out and follow our Facebook at Tennessee Informer. We'll be posting news and information about upcoming shows there, as well as on our website, TennesseeInformer.com. You can sign up for a weekly newsletter. We're also on Twitter now as well at twitter.com/TNInformer. Please share us with your friends so they can stay up to date on all the conservative political news and issues concerning our great state. As I said a minute ago, our guest next week on February 6th will be Representative Bud Halsey to talk about his nullification bill and other important legislation he is sponsoring. Hope you'll join us. That's it for now. Good night from Paris, Tennessee, that is.